Thanks for coming in, everyone. Today, we're going over Monster Girls 101, a holistic approach to answering the question, the age-old question, which is the best Monster Girl waifu? We need to start with a definition. And not coming from any source, but I think we can start with the layman's understanding of a monster girl. Part monster, part girl. It's in the name. Monster plus girl is what? Monster girl. Quite frankly, even the most uninformed person could come to a somewhat reasonable explanation for what a monster girl. But the answer is a little more complicated than that. Again, you think of ears, you think of wings, you think of tails. You think of ears and wings and tails on a girl, on a monster girl. The answer is a little more complicated than that. In this lecture, we will be mainly referencing the depiction of monster girls in the serialized show and manga Monster Musume, aka Everyday Life with Monster Girls, which is a much more, perhaps you would say, mainstream in its permeation into popular culture, but I believe more digestible. For an introductory class, I know some of you may be familiar, but you have to understand that some people, this might be their first exposure to Monster Girls. Monster Musume also has its contained sort of sphere of Monster Girl culture, a holistic kind of canonical lore within itself that set guidelines for the consumption of the Monster Girl content. The Monster Musume wiki offers an introduction, a blurb. This is just one snippet again. 3 years ago, the world learned of harpies, centaurs, catgirls, and all manners of fabulous creatures are not merely fiction. They are flesh and blood, not to mention scale, feather, horn, and fang. Thanks to the Cultural Exchange Between Species Act, very important, these once mythical creatures have assimilated into human society, or at least they are trying. They are trying. Introducing another term, taxonomy is the scientific study of naming, defining, and classifying groups of biological organisms based on shared characteristics, or a way of maybe portraying graphically, portraying taxonomy is with a cladogram. A cladogram describes the relationships, classifying groups of a biological organism. So we might have something like this. A cladogram. The primordial soup. The progenitor of all life. We go down. What do we have here? We have like fish. Or maybe not. Microorganisms. And it branches off and we have what? Like slugs or something. And then we have what? Fish. Then frogs. And then here we have catboys. And you might describe this as, oh shit, this doesn't work. Okay, maybe not, like this is a crab and this is like monkeys or something. It's like monkeys. Okay, so we'll do that and then we could just say that like these are like vertebrates, for example. And, oh wait, you can, let's say there's like a bone, like a single bone in the soup or something. So that's a cladogram, an example describing taxonomy. This will make sense in a bit. I know it's a little obtuse, but we'll figure it out as we go. You might think, why did we go over that? We're tying it into the Monster Girls. So, for example, one of the most popular Monster Girls is the Lamia. Darwin, Charles Darwin. The finches, Galapagos Island. Natural selection, evolution takes its course. There are subspecies of Monster Girls, much like the finch beak, evolving, changing to meet the requirements of their environment. Survival of the fittest. Similar with the finches, there are subspecies of Monster Girls. We will be using the Lamia as an example. What is a Lamia? A demi-human species with the lower body of a snake. You know, this kind of goes against our idea of individuality, especially here, like a Western sense of individuality. Species of Monster Girls are usually held, it's believed that their personalities are similar. You can basically just say, this type of species of Monster Girl has this kind of personality. And a Lamia, the baseline Lamia personality is like a very steadfast, persistent, wholesome personality. Lamia, baseline Lamia. So again, the cladogram, taxonomy, next we have the Echidna. Okay, so maybe something like... So an Echidna, right, very much a lamia in that it is a demi-human species with the lower body of a snake, but the Echidna, covered in scales, closer to a lizard folk, poisonous, spiky in physicality, but also in spirit, spunky. Perhaps, do you dare say, the tomboy of lamias. Moving on. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this. A Melusine? 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 A Melusine? A lamia with dragon wings. Or maybe not specifically dragon wings, but what you would know to be dragon wings. More closely related to sea snakes. Personality-wise, prefers to be alone, a little timid. And the wings are vestigial. They're useless. They cannot actually fly. That makes the Melusine, we're getting ahead of ourselves, that makes the Melusine perhaps, maybe for me personally, a little better of Monster Girl. You know, this isn't just Monster Girls, it's Monster Girls, which one is the best waifu. So for me, I like the fact that the wings are vestigial and are useless, because the Melusine is like, never mind, we're gonna move on. Medusa, however, that's a little misleading. The Gorgons, classic. The myth of Medusa, their keen stare. You talk about personality, a cold stare that makes people freeze in place. That's where the myth originates. They're not literally turning to stone, but their cold, intense gaze causes people to freeze in place. But really, what it is, actually, Gorgons just have bad eyesight. And so their intense stare, it's just because they have poor eyesight, but people misinterpret it as like they're glaring at you, but really they just can't see. They have poor eyesight, they wear glasses. Does Dimitrescu, the tall lady from Resident Evil, count as a monster girl? My answer is no, because you talk about intent. Lady Dimitrescu, I would say, is not a monster girl, because it's the intent. They are a monster, but it's more about, we'll get into this a little later, it's in the next part, but it's like there is the essence of an animalistic, almost problematic of a relationship of like pet master, but not a pet, a very primal relationship. She's too like intentful, too purposeful. Never mind the physicality, too human. It's just a feeling. I think the key thing about Monster Girls is that they exist in a very intended and expanded upon sphere lore, canonical lore, and it's much more consistent. Not just like, you know, Resident Evil, it's a bunch of mishmash stuff. There are monsters, but a monster girl is not simply, you know, we said it in the beginning class, it's not simply just half monster, half girl. There's more to it. You know, this might be some review for you, but we're going really quickly. So next up, we have the Centaur. The Centaur are a demi-human liminal race with the upper body of a human attached to the body of a horse. I maybe perhaps should have saved this for the last because, frankly, this one's my favorite straight off the bat. If I'm here, we're talking about Monster Girls, but we're also talking about analyzing their waifu materialness. Centaur's got to be it for me. The Centaur is loyal. It is strong. You can literally ride it in two different ways. It will protect you. It is strong. It is fast. It is loyal. And there's something about there's stuff like harpies and small, delicate. When I say the horse is strong, it can take some punishment. I don't have to fear feeling bad. I don't have to, it can run the track. It can run the track. You know what I mean? Like bird, you see like a bird, it's fallen, its wings broke, its legs bent. It's like, what happened to you? You can't just strong, can run the course. Loyal, Centaur, that's my favorite. Next up, the Harpy is a mono-gendered female, demi-human race with the body of a human and the wings and talons of a bird. It's fitting that we started with my favorite, the Centaur. And it's kind of ironic that the next one is the worst, especially the depiction in Monster Musume. Don't boo me. Don't boo me. I'm right. Don't you boo me. I'm right. The eyes are drawn kind of like kind of like looking in different directions. Not all there. Birds are gross. Birds are dirty. The wings and then the feathers, they're big and you know, I talk about how I like the horse able to, you know, strong, can take it. This is like, what is this? It's frail, it's dumb, it's nasty, like birds, disease. Also, it lays eggs. What is, no. Harpy's the worst one of the main, like, monster Musume races. Okay, next up. The slime. That's slime. This is like the goop. This is the goop. Or no. It's slime. This is the slime. Like, you know, she's like, the slime is a race whose body is composed almost entirely of a gelatinous substance. Yes, I saw someone say kind of translucent, kind of transparent. They're just a slime that has kind of like a solid form to be enveloped in an all-encompassing gelatinous embrace. It sounds too good to be true, and it is. The monkey's paw, because they like almost don't even know what's going on. I need love. I talk about monster girl waifus. Waifu, not a fleshlight. I need a connection. I'm ready to be gooped up, looks at me with these dead eyes, and they're just like, goop, goop. I'm like, oh. The sheer physicality of it is so good that it doesn't make it like an F. Like mid-tier, slightly above mid-tier. You know, it's like Ditto. It's the Ditto effect. It is the Ditto waifu explanation theorem. Not as good as people purport it to be. Like I said with Ditto, you know, I need to be able to look down and see the fear, the glimmer of doubt in the eyes, that little hint of fear. Not true fear, but just a little like, you know? And the slime's just like looking at me like, I don't even know what's going on, but I'll goop you. Arachne, carnivorous, monogendered demi-human that have a human torso, but are attached to the hips of a giant spider body. They are physically strong and fast. Straight off the bat, I want to say that I think the mainstream understanding of, or the perception of the arachnes, the spider monster girl, is that it's good. I like that. We talked about dominance and how throughout history, there's a constant, always referring to the hunter and the hunted. We enjoy that game, the yaoi, omegaverse, the milfy. You know, we like to be dominated. Yes, the mommy energy. The mommy energy. I wanna be, oh no, I'm all webbed up. She's gonna suck me dry. There's something there. There's something to that. But it's a spider. You think about real life, like a hairy tarantula body or like a giant spider body, and the eyes, it's cute in the anime, but if you are actually going to lay with also it's like carnivorous and gonna eat you or something, you're not realizing how horrific the spider monster girl is exactly. The Dulu Han. Dulu Han is a humanoid race, most commonly known very simply for the removable head. They are metabolically similar to humans. Dulu Hans have a removable head, separate from the body, both able to maintain themselves. S tier, I will not be commenting further on that. Suddenly, it's a party for 3. We're doing co-op. We're doing split screen. Suddenly, player 3 enters. Out of nowhere. Where did player 3 come from? I don't know. You ever play Portal and you think, oh, I could do something with that? Next, we have Mermaid. Humanoid race, upper body of a human, tail of a fish. Very similar to the lamia. But aquatic. In the show, in Monster Musume, the show, she has to be in a wheelchair when she's not in water. This is not as low as the harpy, but this is like bottom tier. This is bottom tier. Think of like if you truly had this thing as a waifu. The tail's long. What? Like you would just need a big bathtub in every room? Or you're wheeling it around in a wheelchair. Also, the top part is cute, but like a fish is like clammy and gross, and it smells like fishy? No, that's gross. The fussy? The fishussy? No. Helpless? Now wait a minute. No, the cons outweigh the pros. This is definitely bottom tier. I want to end with just a personal kind of anecdote of like Professor Lando's preferred type of, within the Monster Musume lore, In that sphere, you know, I like the Centaur. But so now we're just gonna remove ourselves from that sphere and we're just speaking generally the greater mainstream understanding of fan art and such of monster girls. My favorite monster girl archetype is the orc or oni. Think of like the Western fantasy take on an orc, the Tolkien-esque take on an orc. These roving bands of marauders, sentient, conscious, very purposeful, but still barbarians. The thought of being captured, your little adventurer walking away, a roving band of orc girls captured and being treated like an orc girl's meat for the night. And that's the thing, being passed around like it's very nonchalant, like they just like, oh, dinner served for the night. Being passed around like around the tribe like a rag. It's the savagery, but also the key thing is like the nonchalantness of it. Like, next, here you go, Foop, toss it over to your orc girl buddy. Just like the next day's dinner, the leftovers. Used until I'm broken. There's something to that. Futanari, perhaps. The ultimate combination, that's something to be considered. By the end of the night, I wanna be looking like a parachute that's been deployed. There's my personal favorite. And there's admitting that there's an objective best. There's my personal take, my opinion, but then there's like acknowledging what the mainstream is. For example, anime. My personal favorite anime, maybe I need to think about it more, but off the top of my head, it's like Hunter x Hunter, Yozakura Quartet, Nichijou, Yu Yu Shiki, I don't know. But like, I can acknowledge that I think objectively FMA Brotherhood, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is like objectively the best anime in terms of like what it offers. Story, design, action. But FMA Brotherhood's not even on my top 10 probably. So that being said, like, what is the ultimate monster girl? You're gonna have to think a little critically on this one. The answer is a human girl. And when we say ultimate monster girl, we mean in the essence of monstrosity. What is more monster-like than a girl, than a girlfriend? What can be more monstrous? The real monster are the humans. Nothing more depraved and dangerous. Stealing your snacks, can't make up a decision on where to eat, stealing your heart. I rest my case.